Good afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to a weekday edition of Drink Up. I'm out of sorts because I've been running from call to call, so I'm going to try and say this as concise as I can. First and foremost, welcome to Cash, and I'm not even going to try. I've been trying to get your last name right for years. Please tell us
I'm
how
gonna
to.
grab something. I'll be right back. Keep on going.
You're good.
Rochelo. Rochelo.
Rochelo. Okay. I wanted to say Rochelo, so I wasn't too far off.
I
Uh,
don't know. You can't offend me with how you say it. I've heard it all.
oh, I'm sure. So Cash,
Show me the
Rochelo,
money. Show me the
right?
money.
There you go.
So welcome to Cash. Shout out to our sponsors as always. Sam, obligatory drink up, Freebird can. There we go. Um, what up, Jay? Hope you and the team are doing well. Shout out to Sam and Alicia at Bev Assets.
Hey Jay, you need to be coming and just joining us here. We haven't seen you in a while.
Right? Well, fuck, he's busy, man. He's doing NASCAR events and all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
And then myself and Alias Advising and Ryan Halleman and On the Rocks Advisors. So with that, clearly I am caffeined up for the day. Cash, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, I am Cash. I spent most of my corporate career as a CFO in the food and beverage space, predominantly in the ingredient space, but have some experience in retail and really helping with the startup scene, especially during COVID. I recently, last year, left the corporate world to open up an accounting firm. And so we currently are working in all spaces, industries, doing everything from bookkeeping to fractional CFO work.
Interesting.
So I want to start. I want to start there, and you and I already had this conversation, but I want to hear it again. Uh, Most of the people we talk to, right, I
Mhm.
think would argue that the C-suite job with any corporation, right,
Mhm.
is champagne falls from the heavens, the velvet ropes par, right? It's the big salary and the big office, and isn't this fucking cool, right?
Yeah.
And you decided to go. It was cool, and it was a good time of my life, but now I'm
Mhm.
going to switch gears. So let's start with what led to that decision.
Yeah, climbing the corporate ladder is exciting, but so much of what is missed in the conversation is the responsibility that comes with it.
Sure.
And so if you look at most of the C-suite, they age quickly, divorce rates are high,
Sure.
family situations are typically tangled, and very, very generalized terms, but if you look at
Sure.
it holistically, those are going to be some of the varying statistics that you see. When you achieve, C-suite status, you kind of mentioned it. You pop a bottle of champagne, you go out for a nice dinner, it's super fun, and then the real work begins the next day. And I would say that celebration night is like the climax of it all, because the rest of it is just, the poor statistics. And I don't want to dog on it too much, because I'm so grateful for what
Sure.
those roles brought to where I am now. But what I started to see, especially in my last 5 years, is I was on the road upwards of 75% of the time. I have 3 kids, I have a husband, and I was spending more time building businesses, building relationships that I ultimately were not going to capitalize on at the end of
Sure.
my career. And so, yes, I had a great salary, I had some great perks, but at the end of the day, those weren't going to replace the things that I was missing in my real life.
Sure.
And so, about 6 months before, for many people that don't know, in C-suite jobs or high-level positions, they're typically on a contract. So you typically sign or are appointed for a certain amount of years. If you do well, that contract is renewed, renegotiated, what have you. And so I was kind of nearing the end of my contract, and about 6 months before, my husband pulled me aside and was like, if you're really happy, then I will continue to support you as I have been, but I don't think that you are happy. I can tell in just the way you carry yourself. I can tell in the way that you're just constantly drained. And I really started ruminating over, is this really what I want to do? And in the back of my mind, being a strategic thinker, I started putting the pieces together before anyone else knew. And so I played this game of like, well, if I was to do something else, I would need an operating agreement and I would need articles of incorporation and I would need an EIN. And so I was putting these together in the background without even my husband knowing. And about a week before I knew conversations were really going to start heating up over if we were going to renew or not, I had made the decision that I was just going to step out and do my own thing. And so many people make comments of, Cash, you left and like 2 days later you launched a business. But what was really missing is that there was really 6 months of work behind the scenes of building that business. And owning a business also comes with a set of challenges that a lot of people don't talk about it. You're still staying up late at night wondering how you're going to hit payroll, and you're wondering about certain things for clients. And if things go wrong, you're the first line of defense. But it hits different when it's yours.
Sure.
It's like your kid. You have a different level of care and love and appreciation for it. Makes the hard days a little easier.
100%. No, I thank you for sharing that story, at least for me a second time, because I love hearing it, and all the pieces of it, right? Like the fact that you and your husband had an honest conversation, the fact that you were kind of planning in the background, just because that's, as entrepreneurs, or that's just who we are. And I find myself having a version of this where like I get to the end of my day and I'm like, God, I got so much done, and then my brain goes, well, but there's still all these things, and I have to remind myself, like, yes, and there are also 300 other people that all have to be on the same page for stuff to get done. So fucking if it takes 2 days, calm the fuck down, right? Like, breathe.
Something that's really helped me in that, and I've actually been a journaler my whole life. I still have like a hard calendar notebook. My husband makes fun of me, like, we're in the 21st century, right? But for me, it's writing those to-dos down, because it gets so easy at the end of the day to say, like, what the hell did I do all day? Like, nothing got done. Like, my to-do list is still a million miles long. But there's also a lot of science too. When you can actually cross off or write down the things that you get done, it changes the perspective. Like, holy shit, I really did do a lot of things today, or I really did like make a dent in changing the world, or whatever your perspective is. But I find like when you can write them down or physically cross things off, it's like, okay, I really did do something today.
Totally. I had a boss years ago when I was with Best Buy who, and when I say years ago, I mean I was 24, so that's birthday's next month. 13 years ago now. Holy shit. And I it was my first kind of like big box retail gig, right? So like I was 24, like I had worked before, but not in that setting, right? And it was just a lot. Like a retail environment's a very busy one, right? There's a lot going on, and people are asking for things, and some are big and some are small. And I don't carry it around anymore. I still, don't get me wrong, I still have physical notebooks, but for the 3 years I worked there, I would go get, I don't even know what you call it, but they were like pocket Bible-sized notebooks, right? Because I could fit them in the ass pocket of my pants, right? And that motherfucker lived on me.
Yes.
Like, it was never out of my sight. If I was driving, it was in the car with me. If it was at home, it was in the room with me or on the dresser. Like, I still have one of them because it's, dude, chicken scratch, and the pages are all fucking torn from the binding. But, like, I lived and died by that shit. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, so tell us about, obviously, taking that experience. And I love that you called out, like, that you don't want to dog on it, because it's like when people ask me, not that it's the same, but when people ask me about BevSource, like, were it not for that experience, I would be in no position to do what I'm doing now, right? Yeah. So good, bad, or otherwise, you can feel however you want about the role or the company or whatever, but like, that is what led me to being able to help people now. So I love that you called that out. Tell us about Outgrow and accounting and who you're looking to help now, how does it work?
Yeah, so again, like my tenure I spent almost 10 years in the food industry. And while the food industry is this massive industry, I think we can all agree that it's like It's so small. Everyone knows everyone, good, bad, or indifferent. And, I feel like when I built those relationships, I built them for long-term thinking, not what can I get out of it right now. And when I left, that mentality served me well because I left and people were like, oh, Cash is doing finance. We need finance. And she treated me well. She treated me like a person. And so, again, I don't think I would have had the success that I've had so quickly had it not been for some of the people that followed me out of the food industry. But I am agnostic when it comes to who wants to work with us. We will work with almost any industry. SaaS, I think you and I talked about this. I don't love SaaS because it's usually high transaction, low dollar, and there's a lot of red tape around it, and you usually need someone full-time working in that realm. E-commerce is a little bit of the same. But anywhere else, I love it. The other thing that I love, and you and I really bonded over this, is, growing through the corporate ladder in a smaller company, you had to wear multiple hats, which I'm so grateful for because it taught me to be really humble and it taught me to grow without an ego. And I say that now because when I look at people that have, accounting firms that are doing fractional CFO work, they really look down on the bookkeeping aspect of things. And bookkeeping is not what most accountants want to do. They want to do the strategic, they want to do the advisory, they really want to get into the forward look, helping businesses grow, helping them strategize a transaction. But you can't do that without really solid bookkeeping. And what we do in the accounting finance world is so emotional. Finance doesn't matter if it's business or personal. It's so emotional. There's an emotion attached to that transaction. And you have to really build a solid relationship. You have to build trust. You have to build rapport in order for someone to trust your recommendations, your guidance. And so something that we've really done different with Outgrow is we've really leaned into the bookkeeping side of things. And most of our CFO clients have come from initially just thinking they wanted or needed bookkeeping and have ultimately transitioned over to either we're handling all of their finance department or we've become the advisory role in their company. And so big differentiator there is we are not below the holistic financial picture within a business.
Well, the most important position we hired in our companies is a bookkeeper.
Yes. Yes.
I trust the bookkeeper. I mean, I get like to make sure that a bill's paid, accounts receivable, accounts payable. I just delete and make sure that she's managing it.
Yep.
What is
Yeah.
what is the going rate for a bookkeeper nowadays, by the way? I'm curious.
That's a good question. It really depends. Most bookkeepers are looking at transaction number or number of accounts that they're reconciling to build that. I would say you're looking between 400 and 750 a month for a good bookkeeper. If you're going over that, I would hope you're getting some compliance or advisory in it. If you're going below that, I would start to wonder if there's like a scarcity mindset and if they actually have the experience to work with a growing or emerging brand. But
Yeah, that's an interesting number because we pay a lot more than that. We
okay.
have to talk offline.
Yeah,
I
we'll
would
have
love
to.
so we have a ERP system. Does your bookkeep like if you have a client and the client has a certain system, will you work on their system for their keeping their books?
100%. Yeah, and to do good, solid accounting bookkeeping, you kind of have to meet the client where they're at. That's my standpoint. And I also think that's
Right.
kind of a differentiator that we have coming in is I've worked in Sage, I've worked in QuickBooks, I've worked in NetSuite, and coming in and telling a client you have to change to work with me, I feel like is a little backwards.
Yeah.
You need to be able to be well-rounded. If you understand one, you typically can understand most of them. They all have their like idiosyncrasies, if you will, um but yeah, you should be coming in and working to what the business is already doing.
That's really interesting. So that's a really interesting number to me. So we'll perhaps talk later. Then we have a professional accounting firm called RGO. And RGO out of Denver, and my partner's been working forever. They're pretty expensive. Those are like the CPAs. They do like all our taxing, audits, the whole bit. They keep us out of trouble, and she trusts them. And then we have for the other business we own, Frontline. Sounds bigger than we really are, but our other business, Frontline, we have another CPA that kind of manages that business, right?
Yeah,
So,
and one question I would ask you in that when you're talking about your bookkeeper, is the bookkeeper doing books and filing the taxes? Is that part of the scope of work, or are they just doing
well,
the
no, the
bookkeeping?
CPAs are doing so RGOs, but she will give the information to them in order. So she'll do like all the. I think RGO take over the 1099s, but she does all the
Okay.
1099 work, all that stuff. So it does get a little bit busier. It gets complicated. From we have 100 sales agents that we're paying, so it does get
Okay.
complicated
Yeah.
really quick because we have some people on commission. We got to make sure they're paying or they're hitting the whole bit, and trying to figure out the whole. It's complicated because then we have over 50 suppliers that we're dealing with too. So you have suppliers, and you have 1099 sales agents. So she has to keep all that straight, like who's on
Yeah.
first, the whole bit. Now the ERP system we set up has been amazing because we were on QuickBooks before, but we changed that. But I was just curious that when you have a client, if they have their own system, you'll work within their system.
We will. And everyone, I would say like a lot of the emerging brands, the go-to is QuickBooks Online.
Yeah.
It's most cost effective. It's pretty user intuitive. I don't know that it's the best. If we're really looking at QuickBooks softwares, desktop is really going to be superior. It's a little bit harder to work with in a remote setting. But kind of back to your CPA side, I get a lot of shit for this. It's like the unpopular, like you perked up, Adam, like, oh, tell me more. I
Like,
get a
what do you
lot
get
of
shit
shit
for?
and
You
a
don't
lot
you
of
don't take
hate
shit,
for
so
because I have very firm vocal beliefs that your day-to-day bookkeeper, controller, CFO, whether they're outsourced or in-house, should be different than your CPA. And a lot of companies that outsource their tax, I mean, most people outsource their tax to a CPA. Most CPA firms do bookkeeping or fractional CFO work.
Could you have a comptroller / bookkeeper? Can they do both?
Yes, a controller bookkeeper can do both. So when I look at the corporate side of things, bookkeeper, controller, CFO, that's going to be your corporate day-to-day side of
Okay.
things. Your CPA is doing your tax. Your CPA really shouldn't be doing your books. They shouldn't be doing your bookkeeping. They shouldn't be doing your strategy work. They shouldn't be looking at, they have to be there for the tax implication. But
Yeah.
we're looking at different things. And the reason I get hate from this, most of it is from the CPA firms that are doing that additional work
Our
is
CPA firms don't do that. They just do the
good.
stuff you
Good.
described.
I think that
Right?
it's a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
I think that it lightens up dual controls, which is very important in the financial realm. And we're looking at different things, right? Your CFO is looking at profitability. They're looking at possible merger acquisition, having you transaction ready,
Yeah.
watching margins, things like that. Your CPA predominantly is looking at minimizing tax liability in a strategic way, right? And thinking about the stakeholders, depending on if you're an LLC, an S Corp, a C Corp, but their goals are different. So how do you do the bookkeeping and strategy work, but then also file the tax return?
Interesting. So when if you had a comptroller bookkeeper, what's the going rate for that?
Well, bookkeeper, I said, again, it depends on business, depends on transactions, depends on number, somewhere between 4 and 750
For a
a month.
comptroller too?
No, that's bookkeeper. Controller is interesting to me because they're really going to be compliance. So they're in the here and now. We don't do a lot of control work.
Yeah.
It's kind of weaved in, but controllers are really dealing with, the review of the reconciliation. I'm doing that as the CFO. They're looking at sales tax. They're looking at compliance within your municipalities. They're also, a lot of times they may be doing some compliance on the HR side of things. if your bookkeeper is reconciling, they may be the one issuing payment. So controller is kind of that middle grow. A CFO though, minimum, again, it depends on the company. And if you go to the website, you know that we don't do bucketed pricing because every company is different. But for a CFO, I think that you have your floor $2,500. You have to at least be able to budget $2,500 to start looking at fractional CFO work. Depending on the company size, depending on the scope of work, you could be upwards of 15 to 20,000. But at that point, I would argue, should you just bring in a full-time person?
Right. For sure. I mean, it's amazing. So I'm looking through some of the questions that we're going to talk about. So financial fundamentals, every beverage founder gets wrong. So what are the disasters that you've run across? You get this great client and they've made these decisions and you've had to course correct.
That's a good question. First one is not keeping the books along the way. The books have become kind of like a secondary thought, and cleanup is the first point. Like we have to have things cleaned up. We have to have them reconciled. Commingling of funds, especially in like an emerging startup brand, is something that I see pretty regularly. And I think that needs, like, if you're starting a business, do not commingle your funds. You can contribute to the business legally, but there's a way to represent that on the financials. You can pull from the business, make sure it's represented accurately on the financials. But, and Adam, I want to know your perspective on this, but the other one that I see so frequently is inventory. Inventory is such a pain for small emerging brands. They don't know where to put it. They don't know how to account for it. And when it comes to lending, a lot of times the inventory is one of the major topics that lenders want to know about, because it's one of the highest moving units within the financials, and it affects not one.
If you have inventory, or if you have too much inventory, you can't get funding.
It's a gamut of issues. One of it is how you're reporting it. I mean, solid reporting of inventory is it should be received as an asset, and then you use it as it's used, it goes over to the P&L as a cog. But a lot of times we see it expensed out immediately, or they purchased it and never recognized it, or I mean, we've seen they're not using FIFO, and so there's a lot of waste because of expiration. And so if I could give any piece of advice to anyone in beverage or food, get a solid plan for inventory. And if you bring in someone on the finance side, make sure they have some sort of inventory experience. It doesn't have to be in food and beverage. Preferably, they should have some food and beverage experience, but someone versed in inventory management.
Well, it doesn't.
You're smiling, so you might agree a little.
Doesn't inventory affect cash flow?
100%. And a lot of times you see too, either a company is over leveraged or under leveraged on their inventory. And so again, this is where having someone well versed in inventory management makes all the difference, because when you're an emerging or startup, you're working usually from a scarcity mindset of, I only have $500 to purchase raw goods, and so that's all I'm going to purchase. Instead of working with the vendor in relationship management, maybe you can get on terms and say, you know, I need to, instead of purchasing for 1 month at a time, I need to purchase for 2 months at a time. You lower your COGS, we drive up margin just a little bit. But from a lending perspective, they're really looking at that inventory side because they want to know your inventory churn. Are you sitting heavy in inventory and has it been there for 6 months? Or are you sitting heavy in inventory and it's begun tomorrow?
Yeah, it's interesting. If you said your position, if you take 2 months as opposed to 1 month, it could help your cost of goods. But if you don't move that inventory, you're paying the cost of that inventory sitting on the floor. So I've worked for Breakthrough Beverage Group for 10 years, and 7 of my 10, I was director of trade development. I'm here in Minnesota, actually. And we would manage our dead and slow moving inventory. If it hit our 360 days, we would sell that inventory at 50% of the FOB.
Yeah, you see it all the time with people thinking like they don't understand those uh, unrecognized costs on the P&L, such as holding costs, right? Like you're
Yeah.
holding it somewhere that's taking up space. Maybe you're not paying rent, it's sitting in your garage. But
Yeah.
if you're in a warehouse, that costs something. There's a holding
Yeah.
cost to it. So you're adding X amount per kg as you hold these goods. The other thing I've seen is, again, small emerging brands that they can't afford mass amounts of inventory, so they purchase it as they can because of MOQs. Like their co-mans, they're only going to produce, say, their MOQ's 5,000. Well, we can only buy $1,000 worth of goods right now. And that's where that finance brain comes in, is like, can we start building some relationship? Can we create terms with this person? Can we maybe find some lending options where they're leveraging the AR or they're leveraging the inventory? There's so much that goes into it. And so you have to, especially in the food and beverage space, you have to be forward thinking. At least 13 weeks, I would say, in the food and beverage space, at least, very minimum 13 weeks forward thinking for inventory, for manufacturing. And you can't just be looking at what can I afford now. You need to be looking at it.
Well, what's your feeling about just-in-time inventory? Like everybody's like they look at their par levels and they want to buy it and sell it. Do you think that's a good thing or bad thing, or is there somewhere in the middle?
I don't know. There's a time and place. The problem with just-in-time inventory is shit happens. And if anyone here has spent time in the food and beverage space during COVID, then you understand that. Like like the visceral effect that I see in you, Adam, is just in time. Like, what happens if your LTL breaks down? What happens if it doesn't clear customs? What happens if the co-man can't? There's just a gamut of things that can happen. So just in time, I have seen it be a problem more than it has been effective.
Yeah, I have to jump in on several comments, and I do have a question at the end of all this, but I'll start backwards. So, especially this time of year, the number of conversations, even last week, that I've had with brand owners are like, well, I want to ship stuff from A to B. When does it need to pick up? If it, I want to get it there by whatever, somewhere between a week and 2 weeks from now. When should it pick up? Now to yesterday, right? And they're like, what do you mean? I said, July 4th is coming. And they're like, yeah, okay. And they're like, will drivers be off? And I'm like, no, you're not getting it. Freight will get a shitload more competitive for the week before and the week after. Meaning, if you don't have the money to just drop 10 grand to get someone's attention and pick up a load, they'll fucking go take 10 grand from somebody else to do it, right? That's the way that world works. So backward from there, the story I used to always tell, and he'll remain nameless because I like him, he's a good dude, but we used to fight about it, was two things. I had a brand owner who I worked with last summer. I'm working with him this summer. And when I left last summer, because they said, hey, I want to focus on sales and marketing. I'm not planning another production for almost a year. I'm trying to save money. Okay. Do me a favor. Just reconcile your inventory and send forecasting updates. Even if it's nothing, just send forecasting updates to your vendors while I'm gone. Right? Did they do that? Absolutely fucking not. Right? So I came back 8 months later, and I have no idea if all this inventory is accurate. Most of it's probably expired. All the costs have changed, right? So that production that you thought was going to cost 100 grand is now going to cost closer to 150, right? Which gets into all the reporting and cash flow and in fact all the shit, right? And then the other one is, to your point on like having it as an asset, showing it as a cost of goods, all those things. Group I used to work for, who shall remain nameless, but everybody who's listening can probably figure it out. I'll never forget, sales guy one time, and this will lead me to my question. Sales guy one time sends me an email and says, hey Adam, we want to be able to illustrate the timeline of our COGS from 6 months ago to now to 6 months from now to a year from now. Can you put that together? Yeah, dude. Take me 30 minutes. I got you. I send that. before I even have time to look away from my email to start on it, the CFO comes in and he goes, well, no, our cost of goods is this. Chris, what the fuck are you talking about? And finally I had to call him because we went back and forth several times via email. And finally I had to call him. I said, what the fuck are you talking about? Because he kept just saying, it's this number. And I was like, walk me through it. And he goes, well, we did this production, and then we did this production, and then we did this production. And so, you know, the cost for all those productions was this, and the amount of product we got out of it was this, and that's our cost of goods. I'm like, yeah, in like the 5th grade math version, yes. But that's not, and you're not wrong. Like, that is an amalgamated average. But that's not what's being asked for, right? And so again, CFO, bookkeeper, so like the angle from which you approach the formula fucking matters, right? And I get clearly, as you can tell, fucking spun up with people when they refuse to see another angle as a way to do the math, right? All that said, Cash, I would love your perspective, because clearly I get hot about this, on you'll sit in the rooms with brands and it'll be the brand owner's emotional over the numbers, which we're all emotional over the numbers, right? That, I get it. I'm not talking shit, but it happens. The sales team is almost always going, well, I'm going to go open more doors. Unless you've got somebody like Sam who's been around the block enough to know, like, that's not always the best idea, right? You get maybe a hot
It's not.
or a very
Go an inch wide and a mile deep.
yes. And so
Reorders matter more than more doors, by the way, just for the record.
100%. But we've all been in rooms from a sales team's perspective, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the opposite guy going like, well, if we're going to go do those, we're going to have run this production, and that's going to cost this much money. And then the finance person is sitting there going, you're all fucking idiots. Good God, right? So from your perspective, Cash, like, and I don't mean to put you entirely on the spot, but like, whose voice should hold sway in that conversation? Because my thought has always been finance, because for people that do it in the way you do it, you are attuned to, I understand the math from this angle, I understand it from this angle, whereas I'll even throw myself under the bus, like, clearly I'm coming from a production forward mindset, because that's what I fucking do, right? The sales team is coming from a sales forward mindset, because that's what they fucking do, right? Does that question make sense?
Yeah. So I'm going to answer that, but I also, when we were talking about the looking forward thing, I want to add just one thing to that. One of the big reasons, especially in the food and beverage industry, and you guys will both hopefully recognize, cheer with this, that most of the food industry is working that far ahead too. So like when we're talking about like New Year's launch resolution, that stuff is getting manufactured in like September, October. And so you have to be ahead of that curve. But to your point, finance, my opinion, finance needs to have the final say. But the caveat here is finance needs to marry well and get the entire picture. And so they cannot use this, I'm going to rule with an iron fist. And what I have found most effective is that when you go into the boardroom, wherever, and you have all the voices at the table, that conversation is so ineffective to me. It's going to take more of my time to go meet with the individual stakeholders, but I'm going to be able to paint a better, more realistic picture. So I'm going to meet with the sales leader and say, give me your pipeline, true pipeline. What is going to close in the next 13 to 26 weeks? Right? I'm going to look at those reoccurring orders. I'm going to look at what is already contracted in, and then I'm going to go look at production, right? And say,
you're like a demand planner.
You have to be in the finance realm. You cannot be reactive. You have to be proactive, and you have to be able to justify why you're telling the owner or the stakeholders, listen, we got to take a risk and buy $1,000 worth of inventory instead of 500. But yeah, then you're going to go to production and you're going to say, all right, this is what we need for 13 weeks and 26 weeks, right? Your wash down fee is going to be the same regardless if we do 1,000 units or 5,000 units. Can we do 5,000 units? What is the production cost on that going to be? We're saving on wash down, right? It's less per unit there. HACCP is going to be included in that. We're just talking about food here. HACCP's going to be included in that. That's a flat fee. So you can absorb that cost a little bit easier across 5,000 units versus one. And then usually most co-mans are going to give you some sort of discount, right? Instead of 10 cents a unit for 1,000 units.
Yeah.
Now we're going down to 3 cents a unit on 5,000 units. So you can put the holistic picture together. So now they're giving me the production side of things. And then we go to probably more of the operations side of things. Like, can the co-man actually do this? When do we have to have the stuff there in order to do this run? Can they hold it? And then you start negotiating too, because the co-mans want to charge you holding cost. Well, if we're going to run 5,000 instead of 1,000, can you give us a break on the holding cost? And so finance has to have the final say, as long as the finance person department is intelligent enough. Is like so demeaning, but like, if they have to be intelligent enough to look at the picture holistically. They can't just say, we're doing 1,000 units, that's it, that's all we can afford. They have to be able to paint all of the different options. And this is going to be more expensive top line, but if we look at cost per unit, which is more so what I care about, is cost per unit, because that's going to drive your revenue per unit. You're going to have better buy-in from the owner, the CEO, etc. on, okay, I'm willing to make this purchase of $1,000 on raw goods. I'll drum up the 500 myself for the difference. Or now we have a story to paint to the lender on what we're doing and why we're doing it. And then you get buy-in from the lender, because yes, there's underwriting on the lender side of things, but when you can paint a solid picture on where are these lending dollars going, how are they being used down to a penny, you have a way better chance of getting approved for that lending than you just saying, I'm going to throw some spaghetti at the wall and we're going to try to make this work. Does that answer your question?
It does, and it leads me to another one, but I have a comment, and I know this will resonate with both of you. But the number of, I've told multiple people this today alone, the number of decks that I see that will cover, investment dollars that they're looking for, and total addressable market, and all these very high level, fluffy, sexy things. Mm-hmm. And don't tell me shit about your per unit COGS, estimated margin, reorder rates, right? Like, where the fuck is that? That's what I care about. None of this shit matters. Like, I can tell fancy stories too, and I like to be entertained, but I'm working right now. Like, catch me at 7:00, right? My question to you is, and Sam asked it, and you had said a lot of your CFO clients started as bookkeeping clients, right? Mm-hmm. Which makes total sense. My curiosity is a very simple one. How long does it typically take for them to go, oh shit, we like the way Cash tells stories, we'd like to be one of those good stories she tells, we'd like your CFO assistance, right?
Yeah. On average, it's between 65 and 90 days. And so at least one full close cycle, probably 2. And the reason for that is, again, you're building trust. And over that, we're not just doing the bookkeeping, right? Like, when I close the books, or my bookkeepers close the books, I'll then review it, and then I'll find some nuggets, right? Like, all right, year over year, here's your difference. When you start throwing that information at them, again, it's complimentary. You're getting some CFO treatment at this point. They're like, sure. Oh, okay, so this is why this matters, or this is why we have to look at this, or this is why bookkeeping can't be, a secondary thought. So typically 65 to 90 days is when we see the conversion. And I'm sure at some point it will happen, but I don't have anyone that has converted over and said, we did that too soon, or I regret that cost. Finance is so interesting to me because it is the last piece of the puzzle that someone is willing to pay for. If you look at a business, like a bookkeeper, controller, CFO is typically the last position that's filled. But then once it's filled with a good person who understands where you're going and what you want to achieve,
well, that's funny.
They've paid for themselves.
Well, it's as you were saying that, I was jumping ahead. I'm like, you're right. Even in my limited experience, it is the last position with brands that's filled. But then it's, again, once they have the right person, and that might take a few iterations, it's typically the last person to leave. Like, you'll see more turnover in the sales team or the ops team or the whoever, right? Yeah, that's interesting. No, I mean, I love the question for 2 reasons, or the answer to the question for 2 reasons. just as somebody who's also, we're all entrepreneurial here, right? Like understanding what, I was talking to Ryan on the rocks, right? When he and I started working together, he's like, well, because he comes from Yogi Tea and Ninkasi Brewing and
Yeah.
never really wore the sales hat as much as I have, especially with smaller brands, right? So he's like, well, how long should it take to close business? I'm like, I don't know. Our average at Bev Stores is like 75 to 90 days. And he's like,
Yeah.
and for him, he was like, that feels long. And I said, does it? Because we're asking people for a lot of money to start something brand new. Like, I don't know, feels reasonable,
Yeah.
right? And so A, it's just useful in that sense because I assumed it was going to be around that 80-day mark. Um, but B, to your point of people not backsliding, of like, hey, and I'm sure you have some version of this mentality of like, I don't want to start on CFO services necessarily right away. I gotta trust you as well, brand owner
Yeah.
A, right?
Exactly.
Which I think is what a lot of people, conversation yesterday, a lot of people miss where they're like, we could use your help. Cool. On what?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
They're missing
Oh,
their
you
own
can't,
scope of work.
right,
I was with
like
a
if
guy. I
you
was with a
can't
guy
articulate,
yesterday, which obviously you'll talk to him. You can't remember. I think you were on one of my calls, but one of the other calls is another person we were kind of talking to. But they're new to market, right? And they're talking. I'm a commercial guy, so I'm not really the guy you're going to talk to if you're looking to put it in a can. You're going to talk to me after you put it in a can, and it needs to be delivered to the distributor, and the distributor needs to deliver it to the customer, right? But this guy was asking me all kinds of questions, and I'm thinking in my head, well, I'm Adam. I'm like, call Adam Smith. He's gonna think, oh yeah, I'm gonna book an appointment with Adam Smith to have a conversation, right? But then it depends who you're talking to, what the problem is, or it's like, look, I have all these invoices I have to take care of, and I have this inventory nightmare. Well, talk to Cash because she manages the money,
Yeah.
hence her name.
Yeah.
So
Well, and the funny thing, if you take this back to sales too, sales and finance always have this funny relationship. Most CFOs and sales leaders don't get along. I had, some tumultuous times, but by and large, if you can find some common ground and find common goals, because when you look at the sales side of things, we can look at the trying to save and boost margins from a production procurement side of things, but on a sales side of things, especially in the beverage and food space, a sale that is going to cost or value at like say $100,000 is going to take the same amount of time as a sale valued at $100. It's
Mhm.
the time going into that relationship, the time trying to get that sale, like you said, 90 days, 75 to 90 days is typically the close cycle in the food industry. Where do you put your time and effort, right? And do you focus on those high value, go a mile deep in that relationship, an inch wide, versus going a mile wide, an inch deep? And so many sales leaders, I think that's where a lot of the push and pull with finance is that they don't understand that if you could be efficient with your time and really work on recurring revenue, recurring sales, build the relationship here, make it sticky so they can't go somewhere else or don't want to go somewhere else, you're now adding margin and value to the P&L as well. And so again, that CFO, that good CFO has to have those. You are going to have push and pull. If you're all agreeing someone is unnecessary, but you have to have that healthy push and pull of, okay, so you're going to have 10 of these $10,000 clients versus $100,000 client. Which do you prefer?
yeah. Well, I like what you just said, by the way, it rung true, is the stickiness. So one of the things we try to do is we try to provide more than just our regular service. So for instance, I'll give you an example. We have a company called Taste Bevies, which Taste Makers developed basically a point of sale. Like you can order menus, you can order pens, stickers, hats, T-shirts, and they can get it at the same price as Diageo or Pernod or Campbell Soup. And it's all housed in Cleveland, right? We also work with another company called Ruby Pro Software, and we offer them pricing solutions, right? And the reason we do that is so when a client comes in, they're going to use our point of sale service, they're going to use our pricing solutions, and we offer them ERP solutions. I don't do ERP, I don't do pricing solutions, and I don't manage point of sale. I'm the commercial guy. But we offer that in our suite of things that we do, and our hope is that we'll retain our client longer because they have these other services. Because when you have, and the consulting side's, really good, but when you have boots on the ground, when it's about execution, people get antsy really quick.
Yeah, and to that, I would layer on a layer to that in, especially in food and beverage, relationships matter. Like they matter so much. And
Yeah.
so, if I'm working with someone and I say, or they come to me and say, the finances look great. We really need sales expertise. I can give my perspective. I've been around the block to give some advice on sales. Not my cup of tea. Don't really want to spend my time on it. But I refer Adam, right? There's already rapport in Adam because the relationship that I have with the client. So if I
Right.
refer someone, there's already some stickiness for Adam in they work with cash, they love cash, or vice versa, right? If Adam's
Right.
working with someone and he's doing a bang up job for them, they need finance, they put my name out there. And so
I
relationships
love that. I
matter
mean, that's
so
your
much.
network is your net worth, right? Like
100%.
that's our lifeblood. I mean, I talked to someone today, and he advises distilleries all over the country. I don't know if you met him yet, Adam, but basically they'll go in. He's like an efficiency expert, so he's an
His name's
engineer.
Sean.
It might be, but they go in, and they basically say they look at the operations, right, and they basically help them make it more efficient. So, but I mean, I told him, I said, our whole business is referral. We don't do outreaches, and like, if happy to refer business to you, if I understand what you do, vice versa. That's what this podcast is all about, quite frankly. If you
Yeah.
capture an episode of everybody that's here, there's a treasure trove of people in our network that people can tap into, right?
Yeah. You also have to carry responsibility with that. I mean, today on a completely different note, like we're working on, my husband and I, we own a few businesses. We're working on insurance renewals and holistically looking at everything. And
Yeah.
one of our main guy can't write something that we need, and he referred me to someone else. I reached out, never got back to me, and I went back to our agent and said, I'm going to need another referral because he can't get back to me on an initial outreach that says how he's going to treat me in an engagement. And as we're
Yeah.
growing businesses, I need to know that I can call my insurance guy and he's going to be, and it's the same here, right? Like if I refer someone to Adam and Adam doesn't pick up the phone, doesn't call them, probably going to be very few.
Are you okay at 48
referrals.
hours though? Remember, just 2 days. Adam said, just give me 2 days.
I know, but I think that when you are in someone's referral book, if Adam's referring me out, that comes with great responsibility, and I will take that because it says something about Adam's reputation if I don't treat the client the way he has represented that I will treat them.
No, that's 100%. Now you've put pressure on me. So when I leave this podcast, I'm going to go to my email, and I'm not going to leave my computer until I reply back to everybody because it's a disaster. There's just too many people to reply back to. So
Well, Adam sets the expectation though. If you set that expectation, he puts it in the email. I'll get back to you in X amount of days. So if he doesn't by that time. Now they come back and say Adam hasn't gotten back to you, like
maybe I
2
should
days.
put an email, hey, look, if I don't respond to you in this email, it's not that I don't care. Just call me. Here's
Yeah.
my phone number.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, this
Or I
is-
don't check email anymore. I just talk on the phone.
Yeah.
You guys are being very kind, but truly, this is like. I'll tell you right now, there are 13 emails in my inbox. There will be 0 before I call it a night for this reason, right? And I
I'm
do
like
that.
shaming you on
I
your
don't
own
do it
podcast.
every night. I used to do it every night. Every couple days, right? I will zero that shit out. I do the same thing with my LinkedIn messages, and it's fucking most of my time. But it's that reason, because referrals from you guys and people like you are why my bills are paid, and I will not be the guy that's known to let shit be hanging.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We're coming up on time, and this has been amazing. But I'll let Sam ask the $1 million question, but I'm gonna ask Cash the easy one. Where do people find you if they wanna learn more, if they wanna work with you? Where do they find you?
LinkedIn is always a great place. I'm very active on there. But I'm LinkedIn. We have a website, outgrowaccounting.com. You can find us there. But
Can you spell that?
Outgrow, OUTGROWACCOUNTING.com.
She has 100%.
Yeah. So those are the two best places to connect with me.
Right there.
Outgrow Accounting. Yeah, that's it.
All right, we're streaming live in the world here. You're on Substack, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, soon to be on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, to
Yeah.
let you know. And so you're worldwide right now, Cash. So the money is going to start flowing your way. I'm manifesting.
The cash.
So I got
the
to ask
cash
the
for
most important
cash.
question. Cash for cash. So here's the most important question of the day. We ask everybody that comes on and has an afternoon cup of coffee or whatever your drink of choice is
Okay.
what is the difference between success and failure?
This is such a good question. All right. It's a little bit loaded. You cannot have success without failure. You cannot have success without failure. And kind of going back to how we started this, if I look at my moments of most growth have been in the failures. Again, when you look at the successful moments of completing a project, ascending to a C-suite title, closing a big deal, you celebrate it for a night and you move on. When you fail, you have to sit in that sticky messiness for a moment and figure out why and how you got there and how you're going to get out of it. And so I would say the difference between success and failure is if you have experienced failure, I'm probably going to trust you to do well, do good, because you have come out of some of the lowest, highest growth moments in life. And so to be successful, you have to have a level of failure.
What gets you out of bed in the morning?
Ooh, what gets me out of bed in the morning? I'm a faithful woman, so God gets me out of bed. But my three little terrorists, they mean the world to me. And my husband, who today is our 15-year anniversary, and I'm like, I have a podcast, and he's like, you do you. He's been my biggest
Congratulations. You
cheerleader.
get to participate in the anniversary.
Yeah, you get to participate in this. But the people that have really championed me, they get, in my opinion, they get my accolades. Everything that I get celebrated for, all the awards, all of the titles are because of the people around me, and that is why I get out of bed every morning.
That's what keeps you going.
100%. They're not cheap, especially those three little ones.
Yeah, I got three adult ones and three grandchildren, so I'm in a different path or different place in time than you and Adam in terms of my grandchildren and children, but definitely WWJD is for me, so I live by that too. So what would Jesus do? Not to go all religious with everybody, because I respect anybody's faith in whatever that may be, the energy or whatever gets you up and gets you going. So is there anything we missed today that we didn't cover about you, your organization, things that you want to convey out to the World Wide Web?
No, one of the things that Adam and I, again, bonded over is my biggest goal, my legacy is to be a resource for people. And so even if you just have a question, you need a second set of eyes, you need someone's opinion. I would love to be that resource, even if you don't need bookkeeping today, you don't need fractional CFO work today. I really just want to leave the accounting world, food and beverage world, the industries I am fortunate enough to work in, better than I found them, and genuinely want to see people succeed.
That's amazing. And Adam, any closing thoughts?
I mean, I was just glad you were able to join. And, to where we started, truly, just because I find it funny. When Cash talks about, how'd you start a business already? How we got here, because on LinkedIn that she started an accounting firm, and I was like, the 5 fucking minutes ago, you were a CFO of Icon Food. What are you, or CEO? What are you talking about? You have an accounting firm. No, like it's not like you can get a lot done in a weekend. I get it. I've met you, but like, come on. So no, it was a great conversation. It always is with you. Obviously, good insights, and yeah, I think to anybody that hears this, just like don't undervalue whether it's a bookkeeper or a controller or a CFO. The to Cash's point, when they're intelligent enough to approach things from multiple angles and digest information. Oh, I'm using that. I'm so fucking using that. So we're clear. Because it's
Minimizing
true,
people.
right? Like you need somebody who can take in all pieces of information
Yeah.
and not, muddy them or be overwhelmed. So that's my 2 cents. Take that to heart.
That's that is awesome.
Sam, what you
For me, I just had a Jerry Maguire moment when you were talking about when you left the office and people followed you there, and I thought you had like this goldfish in your hand in the bag. You're walking out, and the admin follows you out of the door, and it's just you and that admin, and you started this business, which is amazing. I think we've all been on that journey. I mean, literally, when I lost my job 4 years ago, I had no idea what I wanted to do, but the next day I opened up a business called Drink, and now we have, these other businesses, and we're doing just fine. It's just getting out there, and the networking that you talked about is so important. Relationships, like this song, it's so like, I'm a big believer in AI. I love it and everything else, but if it replaces humans, we're all in trouble. Because if you lose the relationship, you have nothing. Nothing. There's no reason to get out of bed. There's no reason to do anything because it's like humans need to do this. And I do not want AI doing my taxes or my books.
Amen.
Dude,
I don't. I'll go on the record. Even Elon Musk said that anything digital will be replaced. I disagree.
I agree.
I will pay
disagree
you
with
all day long to look at my books. You can use AI to do it, but I need your set of eyes on it to make sure that it's right.
Yeah, 100%.
But thank you, both of you.
We always forget to tell people this. Hang out for a minit so things can upload.
Yes, I'm a Riverside girl, so I get you.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So good. All right. So we're gonna get everybody to their Tuesday night. It's Taco Tuesday. Go get a margarita and a taco, and enjoy the Mexican. Support your communities. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Take care.
guys.